So taking a closer look at this fly, this is just a kind of general egg-laying caddis pattern. This could either be an egg-laying spot or a little hot spot on the back. It's made of this really cool, very strong super suede chenille that Fully Mill makes. And then you got a dubbed body with the pearl rib right there. You got a little underwing of ultra dry yarn. You got a hair wing up here. You got a little another hot spot of ultra dry yarn in pink, a little bit of hackle, and that's it. So it floats kind of high while leaving the rear. It'll drop the rear in the water kind of like that, just naturally because of the hackle, which will drop the rear into the water, meaning the fish will be able to see that trigger point slash egg laying spot. So it's not a super difficult pattern, but these hooks are really great dry fly hooks because they're really delicate, but they're kind of small to work on, so just make sure to be mindful of the space that you are taking up as you're tying. So we'll pop one of these hooks in and get started. So this is a Fully Mill 50/50 size 12. And the 12 to me is closer to a size 14. Its total length is close to a 14, but the actual workable surface that we have to work on is fairly small. What I'm using here for thread is this Fully Mill 70 denier yarn, not yarn, but thread, which is really good stuff. I like it a lot, and it should be coming out any minute now, and I think we should be getting it in the shop. So that is exciting new stuff from Fully Mill. They have a bunch of other stuff coming out. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get from it, but I know there's samples on the way to us, so we're going to decide what we want to get. But I have been using the thread for a while. We got those samples real early, and it's good stuff. You guys will like it. And so what we're going to do now is double this chenille over and just create this little trigger point slash egg laying spot in the back. I'm going to trim it off, easy peasy. Then we're using Tactical Dry Dub in March Brown. It's a real nice tan slash kind of grayish color. It's a really nice neutral color for a general caddis attractor pattern. And so we're going to dub a good bit on because we're dubbing the whole body with this stuff. But the issue here is you don't want to make it too fat. And we're going to have to lay down a little piece of flash here. So right here we're laying down just a little bit of pearl flash in the micro size, and then we are going to dub this body up. And keep in mind, uniform is key right now. To make a body that looks good, you got to kind of create either a taper or just a uniform size down the whole thing. Doesn't need to be perfect, but if you've got like a big bump in the back or a big bump in the front, it just looks funny. The profile slash silhouette on flies can be super, super important, especially on something like this. What we're going to do is just a tiny little bit more dub here. And this stuff is really nice. It floats really good, but it also just dubs really nice and small, which on a fly like this makes a huge difference. So what we're going to do is wrap this pearl rib up, and that'll kind of hide any imperfections with your dubbed body. It'll give a little bit of a segmented look and also a little bit of flash. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of this ultra dry yarn, really cool stuff. Each individual fiber has 4 holes punched through it long ways. Don't ask me how Fully Mill does that, but this stuff floats really good. And what's cool too is it's kind of corded up in a little bit like parapost out of the bag. So it's really easy to measure how many you need. Like for this fly, I like to use 2 strands. So I can just take this and double it over itself, and I have the correct size. I have not decided what's better yet, but I have been trimming it free. But you can do a loop wing like this. This is how I like to at least put it on to start. But I will trim the rear free, but you don't have to if you want to try to run a loop, but you just need to be a little bit more careful about your measuring if you're going to try to do that. So we're going to trim that real low. Having a good pair of scissors for this fly helps a lot too. These are copter scissors. And then we're going to trim it right at just a smidge past that egg laying spot. And so now we've got our underwing. This will help provide a little bit of natural shimmer that the fish will see, but also just add a little bit of extra buoyancy. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a pinch of yearling elk right here, and we are going to run it into the hair stacker. The size I'm using is the midge one, just because it helps me measure. I know that if I can pack it into the midge pretty full, that's about how much I need. But I have about that much hair, maybe a little bit less. We'll see if this is a little bit too much, but you need enough where it doesn't look bald, but you can't do too much where you're crowding this eye and everything. So what we're gonna do is run it into the hair stacker. If you've never used one of these, you go tips down into this, you smack it a couple of times, and it just evens out all of your tips of your hair. From there, we've got them all straightened out, and we're gonna take it out. And then now we measure how long we want our wing. We're gonna measure it pretty much like just maybe a smidge past the end eye of the hook. And actually, I almost screwed up big time. We need to put a tiny little bit of dub down so this doesn't slip all over the place. And when I mean tiny, I mean a tiny bit, just enough to cover this little bit of thread up so it's got something to bite into. Like I just need a smidge more than that. And that just helps it look nice so we don't have a black little bit of body up there, and most importantly, it gives this hair something to bite into when you tie it in. So we're going to measure it just as the tips are just barely past the end there, and then I'm going to crank down on this. First I measure to make sure it's at the right length. That looks good to me. And then I will crank down pretty hard. And so now I'm going to put a tiny little bit of this. Is the same stuff, ultra dry yarn. This is just one little piece right here. And I'm going to move these tips in forward, separate the bottoms from the tips. And then right in the middle here, I'm going to run a little bit of this. And this is my little indicator spot. And then I will pull it down tight. You can leave a little bit in the front. We're more worried about what's in the back here. This will provide a little bit more visibility to our fly, like that. And we're getting close, guys. We're going to just kind of crank down on it. And then we're going to just put a little bit of hackle in. And this is a whiting saddle in tan or cream. I think technically they call it cream. And then we are going to wrap it and just palmer it, and honestly just squeeze as much hackle into that little space as you can. This will provide a little bit of extra buoyancy, hide any imperfections with your tying. Just like this. And then we'll be able to get in there and trim that little bit of the feather off. And then we'll take a couple of wraps around the eyelet down here. And then I'm going to whip finish on the bottom. If it's too tough to whip finish on the bottom, you can whip finish right where you put the hackle in, but ideally it's best to whip finish right up in here on the eyelet right down here if you can squeeze it, which it may be tough. If you didn't leave yourself a whole lot of space, there's nothing wrong with whip finishing in the other spot, which I may have put just a little bit too much hair, so I may not be able to do it this way. So you'll know if it's too tight. I'm going to try one more time. Yep, if I really pull back, I can get it. So I got my whip finish done there. It's a little bit cleaner that way, and then it props this hair up in a way that looks nice. And then we will trim this excess off the front. And here you go. You got a great egg-laying caddis attractor pattern that will just smash. Really great for technical water or non-technical water. You can throw this on a very non-technical freestone stream and just absolutely smash. You can get all this stuff online at Caddisfly Shop, or click the link in the bio. And before you're done, before you leave, I would trim this down just a smidge. That's a little bit better. There you go.